If you're anything like me, when you first started thinking about turning something creative into an actual business, you were probably watching a lot of videos like this one. Hands packing, someone showing you the day in the life that makes the whole thing look like inevitable. Like, of course this worked out, of course the orders kept coming. And this particular thing I'm packaging, the Work in Progress Club, is only on its third issue. So this isn't a story about years of steady growth or some huge overnight success. It came right after a pretty massive rebrand, a proper shift in who I was talking to and what I was making. But what I do have is years of actually running a creative business before this one. So I was building things, hustling to launch them, getting those launches wrong in places, and slowly working out what a sustainable version of any of this looks like once the initial push is over. So while I package this month's Work in Progress Club orders, which is a monthly letter for creative business owners packed with business chats, prompts, challenges, and a few extras, I just want to walk you through how this particular thing actually got built. The key moments, what I got wrong, what I got right, and what I'd tell you if you were just starting something like this yourself. And if you're a creative business owner in the messy middle wanting a bit of accountability to land straight on your doorstep, you can join for as little as £8, including shipping, at thecreativejuiceclub.com/work in progress. Or just check the link in the description or show notes wherever you're listening. So my journey into this really starts before the club existed at all, which was back when I was building Fizz and Flourish, my illustration channel. I was making illustration work and sharing it because I loved making it. I always wanted it to be a business, but what I didn't have was a big picture idea of what the business was actually building towards beyond like growing the following, posting all the time, and just seeing what would happen. And for a while that did work in the sense that I built an audience and my artwork got better. I was creating consistently, which people will tell you is the whole secret, and to an extent it is. Like, consistency genuinely does build skill and voice, but the lesson I only really understood with hindsight: consistency without a destination just has a ceiling. There's only so long you can keep pouring effort into something when you can't picture what it's building towards. And I hit that ceiling. Motivation got harder to find, not because I lost interest in making the things, but because I couldn't answer the question of what all of this posting that I was doing was actually for. So the lesson from this bit of the story is that consistency is necessary, but it isn't sufficient on its own. You need to put the reps in, but you also need to have some kind of idea of what you're building towards, because otherwise the reps that you're putting in eventually start to feel pointless, no matter how good you are at showing up for them. It's such an easy trap to fall into, precisely because the advice to just be consistent, it is true, and it's not bad advice. It's just that it's incomplete advice, and incomplete advice can do longer term damage, because when it stops working for you, you assume that the problem is that you're not being consistent enough, rather than that consistency was only ever half of the equation. I spent longer than I'd like to admit doubling down on showing up more, posting more, and being more consistent, when more of the same thing done more often isn't a plan, it's just volume for the sake of volume. So once I did start taking the idea of running a proper business more seriously, I went straight into the version of hustle that I think trips up almost everyone in the space at some point, and that is that I worked constantly. Illustration work, admin, content, DMs all piling up, and I told myself that this was just what the early stage of building a business looked like, and that it would ease off once I hit certain numbers. But it never eased off. I just kept moving the goalposts and hustling harder and harder. I was hustling because everyone around me online seemed to be hustling, and stopping felt like I'd be falling behind other people. Hustle feels like progress right up until you look back and realize that nothing about your business actually got easier for all of that effort. It took something pretty drastic for me to realize this, and that was having my first child. I properly stepped away to be a new mum, and I didn't even intend to. I naively thought I could just bring my tiny baby to my studio and work away, and it turns out it wasn't as simple as that. And once I was forced to actually stop, I had the biggest wake-up call my business has ever given me. Some of what I'd built in my business without fully realizing it, things like email campaigns that kept selling in the background and evergreen YouTube content that people were finding and buying from months after I'd posted them, that meant that I could take real proper chunks of time away and focus entirely on our son, and the income kept coming in anyway. I hadn't needed to hustle for those sales at all, and that's because they'd already been set up to happen without me posting all the time. And I don't know if I'd ever have seen that clearly if I hadn't had our eldest and actually been forced to step back. So it really did change the trajectory of my business, and it's the thing I wish more people in this space could hear properly before they burn themselves out. And you don't need to have a child to learn this. I just don't know if I'd have learned it any other way on my own. Before that, I was hustling to chase every single order when I didn't need to be doing that. What I actually needed were bursts of focused hustle to set something up that could keep running in the background afterwards. Now, I'm not saying hustle once and then live off passive income forever, which is what a lot of online gurus would tell you, but for me, that's not how it actually works if you only set it up once and then expect your whole business to run without you. What I'm saying is that hustle comes in seasons, and each season done properly can build towards compounding income over time rather than needing the same intensity repeated forever. And that's genuinely what's happening now in my business. I went on to have twins who are now 2, and I wasn't scared about what would happen to the business while I stepped back again. I already knew by then that I'd built it in a way that meant I would get recurring revenue and sales while I slept, rather than those sales only happening if I was actively pushing for them. And I don't want to sound like some marketing bro about this, because that's genuinely not me, and this isn't a pitch for a course on passive income, but there really is something to putting focused effort into your business in the right places so that your future self is set up rather than hustling at exactly the same pace years down the line. That's what all of this is really about. And the Work in Progress Club is only one piece of the puzzle for me. I've got a whole ecosystem now that lets me be creative whilst helping other creative businesses grow. I've got Artova, my software company. I've got tools, freebies, all sorts of things built to help you build yours, and they all feed into each other. And the club is the one piece that I get to send out physically, and that lets me illustrate, design, and put everything I think about growing a business into something that people can actually hold in their hands. And I absolutely love that I get to be creative that way. The idea for the Work in Progress Club came out of that exact realization, and I launched it not long after a real change in who I was making things for and what kind of business I even was. So letter clubs are super popular right now, but I really didn't want to start something that was just a trend, because the danger with that is that the trend will come to an end at some point. So I wanted to build something that could continue to help people feel motivated and have some sort of accountability in their business. And that meant it couldn't just be a new product that I bolted onto the rest of what my business has to offer. I really wanted to be creative again, just like when I was building Fizz and Flourish, my illustration business, but this time I wanted to build it with the lessons that I'd learned when I became a mum. I wanted to build this new direction that didn't need me hustling at it forever just to keep it going. I needed it to be something that could exist and still mean something long after Letter Club isn't a trending thing to make anymore. And my hope is that I've built something that can grow because it can genuinely help people stay motivated and accountable in their business, and not just because it was riding on a trend wave. A physical letter subscription made sense for a few reasons. It's personal and it fits the kind of connection that I wanted with people following what I teach. If you're new to this channel, my name's Meg. I should have said that in the intro. And I share videos all about growing your own creative business in limited time, limited energy. And I share my systems, my frameworks, everything about growing a creative business on my channel. So hit subscribe and go have a binge watch. I promise you'll feel motivated. The idea of the letter club started because I wanted to bring some creativity back to my business, but underneath the creativity that it brings me, there was a practical reason as well. So if I built the system properly once, running it every month could become steady, not another thing that I had to hustle at. That is a different way of deciding to launch something than me just saying, I've got an idea and let's go. This time, I thought more about what it would look like structurally so that a future, more tired version of myself could still run it without burning out. So when you're deciding what to build next, it's worth asking not just what you want to make, but what it's going to demand from you a year in, once that excitement of launching has worn off. I think as small business owners, we skip that question quite a lot when we're starting new products because the idea stage feels exciting and the effort it takes to build kind of feels irrelevant. Like, of course you'll put the work in. You're excited, so that's not going to change, but excitement does run out, or at least it dips. And what's left underneath is whatever you actually built when the excitement was still there. And that's worth knowing before you commit to something, rather than 6 months in and you're wondering why it feels like you're launching every single week. Starting and growing the Work in Progress Club has involved a proper hustle phase. I'm not going to pretend it appeared out of nowhere with no effort. There were real late nights working out how something physical could actually reach people internationally without postage costs making the whole thing unworkable. Plus the new US tariffs and change to EU shipping, like all of that, and figuring out the best materials, what to include, the onboarding, the product page, links, all the usual stuff that comes with launching something new. So yes, there was a bit of a hustle phase, but it felt completely different to how I used to work. Having our son really changed things for me. It's what made me actually work out what needed my attention in this business and what didn't. This time, I could have told you at any point what I was building towards with the club and when that intensity was going to ease off once I'd launched it. I wasn't just working hard and hoping something would come of it. I knew exactly what I was building, and that was a way for the sales side to run steadily once the systems behind it existed, without needing to post daily on Instagram or TikTok just to keep it alive. That meant I could put my actual energy into the part that needed it every month, which are the illustrations, the letter, the challenges, prompts, and other little extras that go into each issue, instead of splitting my energy just chasing sales. A burst of hard work aimed at something specific is an investment, whereas the same hours with no endpoint is just grind. It doesn't matter how productive it makes you feel. Being busy isn't the same thing as actually building something. So between the first issue and where we are now, 3 issues in, there's been a stretch where the temptation to force things to become bigger, faster was really strong, and I think a lot of people, myself included, can slip back into this pattern without noticing, because it's really easy to think that to get more signups, I need to be posting every single day, showing up constantly, and treating content like the only lever that moves sales. But with 3 small kids at home, I was never going to be able to do that, not without sacrificing something major, and I wasn't willing to make that trade. So I would much rather grow steadily building evergreen content like this one than grind, trying to force my way in front of people. I am all for posting and sharing. I love it and it's a huge part of what I do, but it's just not the only driver in sales for my business, and I don't want it to be either. When I launched, I had 15 signups, and then that became 25 signups, and in month 3 we're at 35. That's genuinely steady growth, and watching a real small community of creative business owners like sign up issue by issue has been one of the most satisfying things I've done in this whole business. But I'm not going to pretend there weren't moments where I felt like it wasn't enough. Like I should be pushing harder, relaunching, adding more, and chasing hundreds of orders from day one. But this is a steady climb, and I don't want to compare myself to other creators online. I'm running my own marathon, and I am so happy with the members we have today. This comes up again and again, by the way, not just in that first stretch after the launch, but every time something in the business settles into the everyday. There is a relentlessness that creeps in whenever things go quiet and steady, and it's a nagging sense that quiet must mean you stopped growing. And I don't think that's true, but I do understand exactly why it feels true, especially in a space where everyone's visible output is constantly in front of you. Learning to sit with something for long enough to see it slowly climb is actually a skill, and it's one that took me a while to genuinely be okay with. So this, what you're watching right now, is my happy place. I love folding, stacking, and packaging these issues even more than I love designing them, and I love that a lot. Every issue of the club is a letter with business chats, actionable prompts, monthly challenges, and little extras to help you stay consistent, think bigger, and reconnect with the business you're building, delivered straight to your doorstep. And it's always built around a monthly theme. This one I'm packaging is the reset issue. And every single month, for however many people have joined, hopefully more, as it keeps growing steadily, the process is essentially this. Me at my desk, usually watching Studio Ghibli with a cup of coffee that I have to keep well away because I am terrified that I'll spill it all over the goodies, and I just get to switch off and send out little bundles of helpfulness to other creative businesses, and I absolutely love it. So if you want to receive one of these letters in the post, just go to thecreativejuiceclub.com/work in progress, or check the link in the description or show notes. I'll leave a pinned comment too, wherever you're listening. So I hope you enjoyed this slightly different style of video. Let me know in the comments. I would love to know if you'd like this as a regular monthly episode on my channel. But for now, I am going to put on some cozy music so you can have me on in the background as you work on your own creative business. I shall speak to you in another video. Enjoy.